Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast of Dev Device. This is Danu Falk, and today I have the great honor to host Mr. Neil Trois himself, the co-founder of Voltage. Welcome, Mr. Neil.
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, I have followed you around the interwebs for many, many years. I saw, I guess, several of your e-commerce and Amazon related businesses, and I also came across your podcast, which has amazing content. And I thought, well, if this guy can make the time to speak with me and tell his life story, that would be amazing. And here we are. So
Wonderful.
thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Yes, I would really love to know your life story. Where does Mr. Neil come from?
Well,
Where did it all start?
Yeah, where does he come from? We were joking about this a minute ago. I'll skip the boring parts because people don't really care about all the minutia. But in simple terms, we were laughing because we were talking about heritage a minute ago, and obviously we're talking about you're German, and I'm obviously not German. So this is where we come from. But at the end of it, we were laughing because my dad's from France and came through. He's actually not from France. Let's clarify that. My dad's actually from Minnesota. His descendants, if you will, are obviously me and everybody upstream came from Normandy, France. So my parents, we always joked that they were passive aggressive because my mom came across, her family did, from the English descendants of the Pilgrims who landed on Nantucket Island. I get this all out of my mouth here today. And so the passive aggressiveness is what we used to joke about because they are Pilgrims and Vikings. But I grew up in Oregon, so I had a very fun childhood living and camping and going outdoors. Although we lived in a concrete cul-de-sac jungle, whenever we got a chance to leave and go to the mountains, we would in Southern Oregon. So that was a blast. But grew up playing outside mostly until a little bit of the technology sort of caught up with us. My friend had a computer, a Commodore 64. Thought that was really cool.
Oh, wow.
They got a little advance into the early stages of Unix and stuff. And so we were playing around with that, and I got hooked on the idea and concept of that. So eventually got into the business of computers and stuff and dropped out of college to be in the internet world because that was coming online and I wanted to be a part of that. So took the corporate track for a while, always knowing that I was going to eventually get out and do my own thing. Had a side hustle. We were running, VoIP over IP services in Texas for gamers called Killer Game Servers.
Oh, what year was that? Was it?
Gosh, that was back. Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s. Before games had incorporated VoIP as a part of the game. People were getting together, and I had about 20 of those game servers that were running, and thousands of people were using it every day to talk across the world and play video games. And so they would use those codecs, they'd power up the games, and they go out and play their games. So that was pretty cool. I knew I was going to eventually turn that or something into a business, and I just didn't know when. So talk about the right time or wrong time to start a business. When I got to a position with IBM in February of 2007, they said, hey, by the way, your whole division is moving to Argentina. You can stick around and go to Argentina, or we can give you an early severance package and walk you out the door. I said, well, I'm not going to Argentina because I'm getting married in March. And so by June, I was no longer employed by IBM and I was on my own. So I got a kick in the pants. It was kind of one of those things. It was like, well, I guess this is my chance to do it. Should I go back and get a job? Should I not? And I said, well, everything is just going forward. I'm not going to look back. So I just started the business. But it wasn't really the easiest time. I just gotten married and then getting laid off and had no income, but had a bit of severance. We found out we were pregnant in September of the same year. And then my wife had to go on bed rest by December. So she was no longer working in full capacity. So all of a sudden we had barely any income in the first year of our marriage. And I was trying to start a business. And so that was very much of an uphill challenge. But again, keep going forward because that's just kind of how we are in our personalities. We're tenacious people. And she just said, you can't give up on this. You got to keep going. And so we persevered through that. And for the first couple of years, it was pretty difficult to get that business moving, get things going. And I was actually doing management consulting at that point by myself. And I was still trading time for money. So you talk about mindset.
As a freelancer, right?
Yeah, I was just living in a nicer house and making more money, but I was still trading as a self-employed person. I was no longer an IBM badged person, but I was, making my own way in the management consulting world. Which after 6 months of that, IBM literally called up and said, hey, we need you to come back and save some of the projects. And I said, great, I'm coming in at this rate and I'll be there whenever you tell me. And they're like, great, we'll take you. So instead of a W-2 employee, I went back on some contract with IBM and got to do some of that. And that led to a couple of projects where I ended up having 7 management consultants running with me. And to kind of expand that business, I started doing some online marketing because I wanted to do more lead gen. Turns out I was pretty good at the media buying.
For IBM. You did that
This
for
is
IBM?
all after IBM. Yeah, this is years after 2007. So now I'm building my own business, building my own management consulting firm. Still wanting to get into the e-commerce world and play with that, but more now on the online world of business and management, and less in kind of the places that I ended up, which was lead gen and affiliate marketing. It got started and found out, well, if I'm doing leads and I can do that really well, why don't I try some affiliate and mobile affiliate marketing? And so I did that and found out that was going really well. And then eventually realized I should own the offer, not just send the traffic and give it to somebody else. But maybe I should actually send some products or do some product marketing and actually learn how to do that. And in the process of that, I found out that Amazon was in existence as a selling platform, a third-party selling platform, not like eBay, which I tested in the past and sucked. So I said, hey, let me give a shot at this. And a buddy of mine said, you should try it out because if you're good at the marketing and the business, then they figured out the infrastructure and the marketing. You just get the products to them and they handle all the rest. And I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. Let me just do the marketing. Let me do what I'm good at. And I had no idea.
That was in 2007, no?
So this was after 2007. This would have been like catching up to 2000 around 10 and 11. So I started playing with Amazon around 10 and 11. And just kind of.
When did it actually open up for third-party sellers?
So they opened up before that to third-party sellers after they bought a company and renamed it FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon. It was actually a last-mile fulfillment logistics company, and they turned it into FBA, which we know today is that delivery system and juggernaut that has its own planes and ships and stuff now, and transport vehicles. It's become a really big, third largest, I think I saw the other day, third largest logistics company in the world is now Amazon. For what they do. But at this point, I was just into arbitraging products. Like I hadn't even started building brands. I was just trying to flip products for profit to see how it would work. Turns out that worked really well. And it got me hooked on the system. And I kind of figured out, well, okay, if I can just brand some of these things, can I turn it into a bigger income? Can I turn it into a bigger opportunity? I met my partner through a mutual friend. He is the logistics operational guy. He's kind of my right-hand guy. We've been together now for 10 years in this. He is the more steady, conscientious, operating fulfillment operational guy. I am more of the let's jump off a cliff and see what happens. More what if idea guy. Let's try this, which I drive him nuts with sometimes. And so we've found, each other and we said, hey, let's try this together. Let's try building brands. He was sort of on the same path as me as parallel. And when we got introduced to each other, we were like, hey, there's something here. We got to check this out. And then we started launching brands in 2012. And so by that point, we were getting pretty darn good at launching brands and launching products faster than we could move inventory and faster than we could raise capital to get it done because it was going so fast that we could barely keep up with it. And
how did you pick your products or your niches for your brands?
We developed a process together through identifying products and trends and opportunities, and then Reed, with his more analytical, tactical, and financial brain, developed a process that together we combined into what we call our green light process of identifying trends and products and opportunities for product innovations. And then a process by which we go by the numbers to make sure that we know with 80% confidence when that product launches, before we even move a unit, we have 80% confidence that product's going to sell. So now we don't have a product equation problem. We know what the heck to sell no matter what we were going to launch. We've got a whole database of products and algorithms that we've developed over the years that now tell us exactly what to sell. So it's actually more opportunity than we can possibly handle. So we share that database with our clients and we share it with our coaching and mentoring students.
That one is still an existing service you have to
it's
identify profitable products.
But it's only within my Voltage Business Builders. It is not a public-facing database where it can be sold. I had a software we developed once upon a time that I took control and management of when I bought the company out called ASIN Inspector once upon a time. And so we've stopped any of that forward-facing stuff, and everything we have now is proprietary. It's behind an NDA, and it's only available to my clients. Utilize as their competition advantage. And so
makes sense.
Process, and we internalized it all. I don't sell courses and programs like that to the world and thousands of people a month and all that other nonsense. We are management consultants at Voltage. We build and we scale and we exit and we acquire. these e-commerce companies, multi-channel, omni-channel. And so we're building, first channel Amazon FBA, and then we expand into retail and other channels as the brand proves itself out. And that's been now over a decade in that process. And we are going to be acquiring more companies this year with some of our strategic partnerships. And so that's what we're focused on now is e-commerce, 100% business building and e-commerce. Been doing it for more than a decade. So it's been a long ride, but it's been a very fun ride to get to this point.
That's an amazing story, man.
It's been a lot of fun.
So
blessed.
Wow. So you had all this IT background from IBM, I guess. I guess that brought you like the smartness into the game.
Well, it gave me some good insights. Yeah, I was definitely not the smartest guy in the room. The projects that I worked on, my job was kind of to liaison between the business and the technical. So my little superpower is being able to take two totally different things and put them together. And see two different angles and approach. So I'm not overly technical. I started developing a long time ago, but I'm not a developer. And I'm not just full business only, business coaching. I'm actually kind of a weird hybrid between the two, which is great because I can work with multiple people and kind of be in the middle. I can find new ideas and figure out how to make them get done, help to empower people to get them into their position of success, and then be able to see the bigger vision kind of come together, which is where I kind of, operate the best. It's where I'm really good. I found my lane. That's what I'm good at. I'm not good at doing the other things, and I don't need to be involved in them. Once upon a time, I used flat files and things on Amazon, and now the team takes care of all that, and they don't want me touching any of the flat files. They manage all that themselves. They don't need me messing around with that.
Flat files are no fun. I can confirm.
They are troublemaking. We've got some opportunities to build that better, but we're working on that.
They keep you scrolling from left to right for like 5 meters.
Yeah. But there's so many hidden secrets in the flat files. We have a couple of guys who are just really into tweaking that thing and figuring out what Amazon will let you do with the flat files that you can't do through the dashboard. And because of that, we've unlocked more traffic and opportunities. And it's been, there's components of things that we've learned over the years of doing this. And the millions and tens of millions of dollars that have been generated through these channels. We've been just really focused when other people bounced out and started a new course or went to crypto or talking about AI now. We're just focusing on those things in our business that are relative to the e-commerce world and staying involved in that at the knowledge and innovation level, but not bouncing off into other things that we know nothing about. We stay very focused in the e-commerce world. Yeah.
Wow.
A lot to do.
So your business today is about, number one, helping your clients to succeed on Amazon and e-commerce?
Yeah, so it's a management consulting firm. So we are not selling courses and programs and this kind of stuff. We work with people usually on a 12-month contract for growth, scalability, and exit. So through the process of optimization.
So it's a 360. It's not just about like how to sell on Amazon, but it's actually the big picture of finding the right products using your database and your SOPs, and then launching them. I guess you have an idea about launching products. And then
100%. I built one of the first launch processes that got taken a bit from the early days of Amazon. I discovered a launch process that a lot of people used. And
yes, I think I was one of them. I was one of them. Yeah.
I don't like to brag, but it was the innovative products that led to a number of other people, building some softwares and tools that got very popular in the launch process. But it was built off of the framework that I developed that we still use today. We just modified it for internal use. But it's still very powerful and it works great. So yeah, we launch and we grow, but Voltage is a little different. We're not an aggregator, but however, we do acquire those companies. So as we bring somebody in and that company is built up over time, we'll make offers for our clients to purchase those companies and take operational control or bring them in as an operator or remove them as an operator if they choose. And then we bring that into our portfolio. So we are not pure aggregator and we're not pure coaching, if you will, but we are a hybrid of management consulting and acquisition.
Wow, that is so exciting. So if somebody wants to start his online business today, you guys would be the place to go.
We'd start with Amazon. There's 150 million buyers who are just there to buy. Buyer. They're there to buy her too. But they are there to buy. They are in acquisition mode. There's a psychology of that buyer. We've gotten very clear on what that is. And then once we've developed a business past 7 figures through the Amazon channel, we will then move it to a retail or omni-channel position, Shopify stores, lead acquisitions, direct to customer marketing, and build out the additional channels. So we're not just we don't just believe in an FBA channel. We need omni-channel. In fact, we won't buy companies that don't have an omni-channel presence. And so we will build that additional channel in retail and value. And then we have other investor levels. There are, the guys who will deploy 1 or 5 million. There's the groups of people who will deploy 5 or 10 or 20 million. And then there's home offices, family offices, and those kinds of groups that won't deploy less than 25 million or more. And so we will take businesses and align them to the correct level of acquisition or mergers if necessary to take those businesses out. And that's why Voltage is just a little bit different in the way we do business. Because I think maybe a lot of people might, if I mention Amazon FBA and coaching, they automatically think, well, yeah, you have hundreds of people and you thousands of people and you run this big coaching and consulting courses thing. And no, I have one offer. It is one offer, invite only. You need to qualify. I make people go through.
Oh, really?
Yes, go through a DISC assessment to find out if you have the aptitude to actually do it correctly. Not just the capitalization, but I'm looking for the right kinds of people. And typically I find about 5 to 7 people a month-ish, kind of just depends.
And they all come to you, right? So
they come in, they want their referral based usually, or we do a little bit of marketing on TikTok and other places just to kind of keep the brand exposure. But mostly it's those who are looking to expand or wealth without Wall Street opportunities, or they're looking to deploy capital outside of maybe real estate or other locations they might, or additional franchises. I've got professional people from lawyers and doctors. I got Navy SEALs and military fighter pilots. I got stay-at-home moms and all kinds of individual couples and others. We're all building for e-commerce, Amazon first, then multi-channel to build up that opportunity. But I have a way of doing it in which we milestone them over 12 months. We have goals and directions. They have to reach 100K in net profits before part of our fees are paid under a performance consulting bonus. And then we are building that company so that in 24 and 36 months, it is an acquisition-friendly company. So when everybody starts, that's why I invite onlys and qualify those who speak to me, is that I'm looking for them to get a business with a CEO operator hat and partnering with Voltage to build that business up to exit so that there's a great asset. I'm basically building multiple CEO operators for companies that are within my network. And, the old saying about wealth, it's not, just the asset you control, it's how you control that asset. So while I can leverage their business and knowledge and gain knowledge from my business and leverage it back to theirs, the ultimate outcome is we're working for the same goal.
Now, what do your clients need to bring to the table? If you interview, let's say, if I was interested to join your program, what would be the qualifying questions?
Yeah.
What would be the assets I have to bring to the table to qualify?
Well, the obvious one is money. And let's get that off the table because this isn't free. And a lot of people are like, well, this isn't free. But I ask for people to have at least 35,000 in capital liquidity to take the market in the first 6 months. So this isn't like a, hey, launch a $5,000 deal. This is I'm going to go in, we're going to find a niche and become the dominant player to build that business to a multiple $1 million exit in 36 months. So we're going to come in hard and heavy, finding products and obviously scaling that. The other thing is I make everybody do a DISC assessment profile to determine if they're dominant, if influencer, or more steady, or conscientious in the way they do this, because there's a daily, weekly, monthly operation that occurs. So I want to make sure they understand as much as possible, even if they've never done it, how the operational components of this work. So I ask a series of questions to kind of understand where their business history and knowledge is. The other thing I want to know is if they've ever failed. If they've never failed in business, if they've never, failed at a job, if they haven't quit something in a job or have ran into a problem or had some sort of life issue, I don't want them failing on their dime on my time. So if they've never had enough life experience already, I'm definitely going to usually disqualify them because they are.
That is very interesting.
They've not been battle hardened by business. They don't have to be an Amazon seller. They just have to have some experience in life, and they don't have to be deeply involved in business or finances in this way. But I need them to have some experience, trying something, testing something, doing something, involving themselves in something, and not just saying, well, this is the first thing I've ever done. That's not going to be the right way to get success out of this. It really isn't at the end. And I've gotten better at kind of qualifying that. But the people who have more of a steady, conscientious work history or understanding that there's a clear path, a steady path, and a way to do certain things in business, e-commerce will work really well for them. If they're a straight up dominant influencer, type A personality, go, do, great at starting, not really great at finishing, then e-commerce ultimately is not going to win for them. That's a market that, you need once it's up and running. It has to have operational control. And that's where it really wins in the long run, is a strong operational brand strategy that has to be executed continuously. And if that is not comfortable for you, it isn't going to work. And guess what? It doesn't work for me. And that's where this gets a little ironic. But that's why my other half of my brain, who's my partner, Reed, who's been working with me for 10 years, that's where he operates. That's what he's very good at. That's where he loves to be. That's his space. That's where he lives. It's where he thrives. It's not where I thrive. That's not where I live. And so our two brains basically make one. So he's not thriving in my space. He doesn't like the things I do, or doesn't like the big picture visionary stuff very much. And he's come along with me for a long while, and we've started to balance out the differences in what we work well with. But because of that, we're able to do this really well, because we make basically one person. But we also
You're a very lucky guy, man. You found your dream partner.
I did, and it took a lot of frog kissing. He is very much like my wife. Yeah, my wife and I have had 16 years married this year. We've been together for 18, almost 19, and she is that SC, build, path, structure, go. She was a BSN and RN in nursing, and she knows that there's a particular way, so she runs the house and does things she likes with the girls and the homeschooling, and she has a path of doing things. And at time we conflict because we're very opposite in many ways, but because of that, we balance each other out in the differences of who we are. And I'm allowed to be who I am and go out and thrive and do the things I need to do, and be who I am and very comfortable. And she's able to do that in who she is. But we're very different that way. And Reed has been a balance in that way for the last decade for me too, because we're different. And it is sort of a unicorn. But we've kissed quite a few frogs that in that time frame who've got involved somehow in our business, and we've had to unwind them because they simply don't have that same mindset, or they can't go where we're going.
Yeah, again, you had your failure experiences, and I think that's a very interesting aspect of. I heard a story of some 8-figure income people gathering, and one of the common theme they all have been bankrupt at least once in their lives. So
I got one on my check belt. In fact, I thought the average was like 3 for those who make more than $1 million at 50 or less. We typically have 3 bankruptcies of some kind. I've got one. I'm not going to brag about it, but at the same time, I'm not going to hide that fact, that I learned a very big lesson in life. I got too far, too leveraged, too big picture, not enough tactical or people to control, or help me balance the difference in that. I got a little too far out in that. And because of that, I got a little too leveraged. And so I had to do what's called a business strategic bankruptcy, to sort of indemnify myself from a business I got involved in a long time ago. And so because of that, I needed to restart. I had to get back. That's where I went back into the management consulting and the lead gen and things that I did during that period, was to kind of get restructured and start selling on Amazon, to pull things back around from a bankruptcy, and it was a tough thing, and it wasn't fun. And I had a pregnant wife who was standing there in the doorway to the garage when they pulled the car out at 10 o'clock at night and repoed the car. That sucked. I got the bank screenshots of us, down to $267 in our bank account with a wife and 4 kids. And, what now? Forward again, just pushing forward, not going back. There's inspiration or desperation at those times, right? And it's whether or not you feel inspired to make the changes, or whether desperation takes over and you make very bad decisions after that, very bad decisions that make it even worse. But I was inspired with back against the wall to provide for my family, to do what was necessary legally and ethically, to pull myself out of that hole. And through the power of internet marketing and building e-commerce products and finding the products to sell, I was able to start doing that. God gave me a path through it, and I just worked it. And by his hand, he gave me the opportunity to do it. So I got out of it, but it was a struggle. It was no fun. Running out of money and having to start over again. It really is no fun. But at the same time, I don't believe that people who don't have any struggle or can't tell me a story of a struggle are not going to be able to run a business to the size and scale they would love to get at, to change their life, to create their lifestyle as a business, if they haven't struggled or failed at something else already. And that is one of my qualifying factors. I want to know what you've done, where you've been. You don't need to be making a lot of money already or having all of that success, but you need to have the ability to overcome objections, overcome points of failure. You need to be able to go, through the wall, over the wall, around the wall, under the wall. You need to go get a bulldozer and knock the wall down, but whatever it takes, you need to keep moving forward and push those down. If there's any indicator that you're not that person, then this is probably not the right fit for you, because business is, about problem solving. It's not all about make $1 million in 30 days, like the interwebs tell us, all the hopium scam crap, right? I mean, $1 million maybe in 15 years or 3 years or 5 years if you're doing really good heads down tactical, but you need to be looking at it as a real business model and approach it from that perspective, which is literally sometimes just solving a lot of problems. Your problems are somebody else's. That's what it turns out to be. You got to have the mindset for it. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the golden nuggets already. Listen on everybody. Yeah, so having this ability to go through, around, above the wall, find a way, even though it's tough. I think this is maybe one of the basic lessons every entrepreneur learns in life very soon.
Yes.
And the decision to be an entrepreneur. I mean, how? I mean, I saw this like left or right option in my life at some point. After school. There was like this thing. Am I following what people are telling me to do, which means high school, university, job, or am I doing my own thing? So to me, it was the freedom path. To me, that was the basic mindset choice that I made very early in my life. It was freedom over safety. That's what it all breaks down to me. So if you prefer safety, I think entrepreneurship is not the right thing. But if you can cherish freedom and face all the responsibilities, all the challenges that come along with it, I think that that's when you are born entrepreneur. And
it's deciding if you want a lifestyle that's a business, or you are okay with building a business that in which it will entitle your lifestyle. I chose to decide what my life was going to be because I had an opportunity to change it. At that point, it was like, okay, now what am I going to do? So I want to stay with my family. I want to stay with my kids. My wife had some medical issues and I need to take care of her. And we have 4 young daughters and I don't want to leave them. I don't want them to go into the world per se. And so I want to see them be homeschooled and I want to build this lifestyle. And I just started to vision that in every, step I took was a vision that my wife and I geared towards in our life to move us to a position where we can maintain our lifestyle. And how do we work a business into that lifestyle? So I can stay at home. I can be with the girls. We will be around each other. We can homeschool them. We can do life differently. And how can we spend, as the saying goes, the next 3 to 5 years doing what is extremely difficult so that we can live like nobody else after that, right? And that's the most truest saying I've ever heard. If you're willing to do something for the next 3 to 5 years that no one else is willing to do, then you can live like no one else after that. And that's really what it gets down to, because I've faced that personally. I'm not, I didn't come from a rich family. My dad was a blue collar, hardworking guy. He's 80 years old and spent 28 years working in a manufacturing plant. I was blessed to be allowed to, in the company of my uncle, who was more of a philanthropist, business builder guy, who kind of ended up being a little bit like my rich dad. And because of that, he kind of gave me insights and conversations, and he was able to network with people, and that really opened my mind to the realization that while I was in the corporate world at that point, it was only a stepping stone. It was only a progress point. It was only a learning and a networking, a connection. And I was getting paid to build that, but I always knew it was going to end. It was never going to be the end result. He gave me that knowledge and awareness to say, there's a very different way to do that than the way you've been taught, the way that life was before. And that was a very good insight for me. I had the privilege of the rich dad, poor dad conversation. I didn't realize it till many, 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 many years later that was even happening to me. I didn't understand what that was all about. But I recognize it very much now, that it gave me the opportunity to see that I could choose my destiny. I could choose my lifestyle. I could choose my opportunity. It wasn't going to be perfect. It wasn't going to be easy. And as we've talked about, there are multiple additional failure points in my life that have led me to the position where I feel much more comfortable financially and physically, spiritually, and mentally now than the guy, 15, 20 years ago. It wasn't because it was all roses and unicorns. It was hard work. It was a challenge. And, I see those folks out there that want to do that. And some of them are in different areas of life. I talk with dentists and lawyers, and I talk with guys who are in the military. I talk with lifers and career people and all this stuff. And the same thing comes up over and over again. How much time is it going to take for me to do a business like this? And what's the real reward coming out of here? And what are the challenges you're having now? Well, I'm not spending time with my family. I'm working 12-hour days here. I'm a pharmacist for Walmart who spends 14 hours a day there. I don't want to do this anymore. Right? I'm done with all that. How do I get out? How do I do what you did? They use me in Voltage as a bridge. I didn't have that bridge. I fell on it. flat on my face. So what I've learned to do with Voltage is I created an ecosystem, and my people that are involved in Voltage, it's not just me. I have a whole team behind me, but they are a bridge. They become the bridge that I didn't have when I fell on my face and starting my own business. We now have that bridge that gives them that place to walk out to be comfortable, to see, to gain the knowledge and instruction as required, and then walk with them on a one-on-one basis for the first 12 months of their business to ensure they stand it up correctly, that they get their opportunity going the right way, that their mindset is in the right way, because we work on that a lot. And it's not just the mechanics of the business, because I can teach the mechanics to a 14-year-old girl, which I've done, or a 19-year-old high school dropout. The mechanics aren't what you make money. It's the understanding of the business, the product, and who you're selling it to, and why you're selling it to, and what your purpose is beyond just the profit. If you can have fun, if you can do it with great people, then you will profit spiritually, physically, you'll profit financially from those things, more than just physical. And because of that, you will see yourself grow and overcome those issues. And those are typically the people I see with the biggest reward. Guys like Daniel. Daniel was a dirt farmer, as he jokingly says, because he had a degree in golf course management, which had nothing to do with e-commerce. His wife was a top tier young living lady, and he was just involved in supporting her in that part of the business. And he's a theology degree too, so he does some teaching and pastoral work. But other than that, he never owned a business himself and never sold a single product online. And now he's 3 years into this, he's running a $4 million Amazon business and is scaling it there. So the aptitude is important. The mechanics can be taught to anybody, but once you understand the business model, who you're going to sell to, and what you're going to sell to them, and making sure that you run the numbers so it's profitable. And this can be a really fun business because you can run it anywhere in the world. Literally, I know people go on about that. But I'm on 40 acres in the country on an internet that I pay too much money for that doesn't always work. But it's because I can live my lifestyle out here and still run this business, which I can do in the Caribbean too, for that matter.
Or to Malaysia, like
Malaysia,
here.
Right? New Zealand. I've talked to people all over the world. North Ontario, Canada, where his internet connection was worse than mine. But he's able to run his business and to maintain a full in-time income. And half the time, we spend about 15 hours a week managing these companies on scale, multi-seven figures, when you do it the right way.
Exactly. And you think today there's still opportunity to enter Amazon and to launch new products?
Yeah, that's a real good question. It really is, because there's a lot of people who might be listening to this thing. Neil, there's a looming economic thing. I heard it on the news. People are talking about this and that, and whether they'll buy money, and who knows what the economy is going to look like, and Ukraine this, and all these other concerns we have, at the time you and I are talking about this. But in realistic terms, you got to look at where the market and the industry is. Which one is growing? Which one has the best opportunity? Which one sees upside potential? You stack that all out into the world, and you look at things like real estate or other industries, or you look at franchising or any business kind of development or business building side. And honestly, Ecomm is one of the double-digit growth industries. It is one of the fastest growing. It set some records last quarter, end of December 2022. I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but we were supposed to be around 800 billion in e-commerce sales for the United States, but they actually went over 1 trillion in sales, which was projected for 2024. That was already done. So we're seeing growth that's a year ahead of projections. The last one I saw from Forrester Research was there was about 20 million new people who bought for the first time at last quarter of 2022. Okay. First time ever bought something online, which is the record. The other really cool statistic was mobile purchasing overtook desktop for the first time in the internet history.
Oh,
so that was fascinating because basically they said that 60% of the people buy something once every week now on their mobile devices, because they're no longer restricted to having to stop to think about it, go home and do it on their computer. They can literally do it from the app. And because of that, we've now transitioned into a mobile buying society.
Oh yeah.
Which has to do with like how to think about your products and your listings in the marketing. You should be very mobile focused. Very mobile focused, because that's where everybody's going. So the numbers are all up. The numbers are all trending very well. It's supposed to be it's supposed to tap out, and I think they're just finishing around 5.5 trillion in overall global e-commerce sales. From what I saw, you guys can check this out. Go double check me. There's a Bank of America, Forrester Research, and Department of Commerce just produced all these. There's a great article by Market Pulse out there that you can go research on this. And basically, they said we were going to be around 6.5 trillion by 2024. So it's a market that's growing. It's a market that has its troubles in terms of logistics and delivery earlier, but a lot of those things have been resolved now. We were paying like $24,000 for a 40-foot container last year. Delivered and landed, and it's dropped to like 4,500 now. So that has changed dramatically. Products are actually moving extremely fast. It's just the demand for products means we're having to move products and logistics a lot faster, which
Are you
is also
sourcing mainly from China?
no, not mainly. We do about 50-50, 50 China, 50 from everywhere else. There's
Oh,
still
yeah.
a requirement for certain products to be made out of China because you can't get them made anywhere else. The manufacturing's been shut down or moved. So if you want certain types of products, electronics or household goods, they simply aren't being made anywhere but China. Now, you can, with some cost, have those moved to other locations like India or Pakistan or even down to Mexico. But you need to be able to get that tooled up, which means you need the capital. The molding or the capitals can cost between 2,500 or 25,000 to get that set up and manufactured somewhere else. So you may start in China because you have to. But then again, once the product is up and running and it is a good product, it's a viable product, and it's going to be a good business builder for your business, then you will potentially decide as an operator to move that product manufacturing to another location, have them tool it up, have them create the molds, have them build the manufacturing processes out of another location, build it as a redundancy, okay, or operational control or continuity of business, as we refer to it, or have it as a primary later on if you just want to have that product moved from Mexico faster than China. So China's big; it's been there, and it was a dominant. But due to COVID and changes and restrictions, and that last 3-4 years, a lot of other places have tooled up and are manufacturing different products in different locations, not requiring everything to come from China, although there's still a lot that comes from there, no doubt about it.
And it sounds like your products are unique, right? You don't do Me Too products, or
No
how
more
do
Me
you
Too products.
differentiate?
No, Me Too products was like a 5-year ago thing on Amazon, right? Things change extremely fast. If you're trying to do Me Too products, which I see a lot of courses and programs still teaching people to go after the Me Too products, which is like sub $30 products. That is a very bad idea, folks. That's a waste of money. Might as well burn it or set on it or something. I just don't do that. These are not inventions. We don't invent anything. We're not out there trying to be, Tesla or Elon Musk. We're innovating. We're taking innovating ideas against trending in markets. It's not extremely complicated. I know some people may be listening to this and being like, well, I don't know what first product to sell. I don't know what the heck to sell. When you get trained on it and you start to see the opportunities that are literally all in front of you, what I call my white cars, once those white cars start to appear, you see them everywhere. You actually have a different problem, which is like, how many am I going to launch, and how much capital am I going to need, and how fast is this going to go? You have different problems when you start to recognize those. So no Me Too products, only innovative, brand registered, brand trademarked. Potentially can even go as far as patent pending if we needed to later on for protection and brand identification as part of the strategy. Don't need to go there unless we need to. But these are products that have been created. And just an example for people's brains, that would be something like grandma's crock pot, okay, which is now a Me Too product because everybody can create just a basic crock pot. But then we got to the Instapot, which was an innovation against the crock pot. Like air pressure cooking could go faster and do the same thing as your crock pot, but do it in less time. It's a little more safer. It's not going to burn the house down, that kind of thing, because it doesn't get left on all day like grandma's crock pot. And we're always worried, is grandma going to burn herself to death up because her crock pot's going to burn her house down? But it literally had invented itself to an innovation standard, which they've done very well at. I think they're doing like $5 billion a year last check. And then there's air fryers. Air fryers are just an innovation against the product base of demand that came from those other two. So they've just innovated. They're not inventions. It kind of feels like they are, but they really aren't. So you can take any kind of those typical products, from a bike seat to, kitchen goods, and you can innovate them into new areas, creating places where you're not saturated, where you create brand opportunity, where you're not just selling cheap Chinese crap, if you will, and you're not just building Me Too products that basically create a situation where you're going to have, race to the bottom pricing, where your product is going to go down. Instead, what we're looking at is cost opportunities to increase, pricing and profitability by creating a better retail value, a better price point value, even raising prices $5-7. And then from the back end, because of volume and quantity goes up, we can obviously reduce the cost of goods, which falls to the bottom line. So we're looking at products that are typically 18 to 25% or more in net profit because of the way we do it. And we're typically looking at products 50 to 125 in retail range. So we're definitely not in the space. We're in the solution-oriented product space.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah.
And because of that, those products are more evergreen. They can run for years. Competition is usually other brand builders who aren't really in there jacking with you, like the Chinese hackers or the Korean mafia out of Texas. You don't want to mess with any of those guys. And so we're not fighting those guys, and we're not seeing them being knocked off really quickly. It's not like selling, a plastic arm bands or those exercise bands or these kinds of things, or the spatulas where you see them being knocked off really fast. and taken over. And those are typically products in that sub $20 space because it's just really easy to knock them off, and a manufacturer can take you out quickly. So this is just, riffing on some things we do in our business here for people who are, picking this up. But the idea here again is business longevity, brandability, and profitability that leads to growth. And from growth, there's vertical and horizontal growth across Amazon first that can get us to 7 figures. And then from there to reach scale, it's continuing that process and then moving into omni channels, multiple channels, creating redundancy, lowers risk for control, and builds in additional customer acquisition. And of course, email list, direct marketing list, etc. add value to that business, creating a much higher proposition at sell that you'll have a bigger payday, a lot more money when you sell that company, when you open multiple channels across your brand. So it's build, grow, and scale, right? Be done relatively fast, 3 years, right? It's roughly not a long time to build a business that can create almost generational wealth. And then you got to go talk to the guys at Wealth Without Wall Street about how do you actually invest that correctly, hold on to it and keep it for your kids, and then reinvest it into more things. Now you got a different problem.
Yeah, I would skip the Wall Street part because after all my investment experience, I decided that I will only invest in myself moving forward. So yeah, if I had money to spend on a business, I will just go and buy or invest in another business. So to me, but yeah, that's just me. But
nope,
I'm not saying that
I hear what you're saying. Ecomm products, physical products, things I can control, build market value, and grow. Means the capital stays with me. It stays sort of within my control in that way. And I don't just give it to somebody else and say, good luck with that. Maybe in 30 years, I can get access to it if I'm lucky and don't get penalized. And then I can take so much of it and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, I want that capital working now. I want that out there where I want it to go. I'm putting my soldiers to work. So
why not just buy another business if you have too much cash?
If you know what you're doing and you know the numbers and you know how the business operates, you buy a cash flowing business and put an operator in front of it. Now that's not for everybody. And it seems, for those of you who've been investing in, market and real estate stuff for your entire life, that sounds pretty risky, right? But for those of us who know and operate that, we'll go find another business that's got, 3 years of history and a great P&L and good products and an upside potential. And it's a good place to put your cash and buy that asset, take it out and flip it again in another 3 years.
Something like that. Yeah, that would be my investment idea. But
not for everybody, but not impossible for those of you who might want to do something like that. It starts with your first product. Exactly, first product, then you build from there, right?
Yeah, and ideally you diversify. So of course, to have everything depending on one business or one platform, I would not recommend. But
not recommended.
I think as soon as you have 2 or 3 assets running and you can afford one of them to die without going bankrupt, I think that would be a very good setting.
Absolutely. But, sell more than 5 SKUs on Amazon, by the way. More than 5 active FBA SKUs, or you won't unlock certain traffic and distribution across the network. You'll be limited. And you're not going to be at this time and juncture, probably going forward this year and into next. If you have less than 5 SKUs, only Amazon channel, you're not going to see yourself being acquired. You're going to need to have more than 5 brandable SKUs omni-channel. And that omni-channel doesn't have to make up a huge amount of your sales, but it needs to be at least 10 to 15% of your revenue coming from additional channel sources, at which point you're going to be considered for higher revenue models, higher profit of purchasing, EBITDA, basically the net profit, higher returns, higher multiples. If you're not, then the Amazon days of FBA only purchases are going to be slowing down dramatically across the board, just because of the way the market is changing and the risk has been a little greater due to market conditions and other things. But that's how we adapt, isn't it? Adapt and innovate, right?
Yeah, amazing, man. So much to learn from you, Neil. I think we could talk for another hour, and but we're reaching the 45 minutes mark. So
wow, that went fast.
Yeah, that went fast. So to wrap this up, I would just like to know, how do you stay fit? How do you stay physically and mentally fit? What are your fitness tips?
Yeah, roll my eyes because I'm not the most physically fit person I should be. That's for darn sure. I could probably stand to lose about 400 pounds and I would be a much healthier person. Although my wife cooks completely clean, organic, healthy. We eat gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free. We work close to vegan. We eat very well. She cooks everything. That's part of the problem, is that she's become such a master chef, is that she creates so much good stuff. I eat too much of it. That's my problem, is just I eat too much. So I am not as physically healthy as I should be, even though I live on 40 acres. I'm outside all the time. We do work. I physically can do a lot of things for my age that maybe somebody else can't, even though I don't go to the gym. However, I'm still carrying too many pounds. Mentally, I'm so much stronger than I used to be. Mentally, I feel as about as strong as a full-time weightlifter. Mentally, I've been hardened through life, through divorce, through bankruptcy, through challenges, through medical issues, through, watching my wife and medical issues almost kill her. In one situation, she did die in front of me, and she was resuscitated at the hospital. And I was faced with the idea of 4 young children under the age of 5 and a single dad that would have to take care of it without my wife. That was a moment I was faced with. I never thought I'd be faced with. And, honestly, I will say this isn't necessarily for everyone, but for me, my faith has structured my mental and spiritual prowess into a position where I feel very strong and confident in where I'm going after this world and who I'm my allegiance is to. And because of that, the things in the world, I no longer fear like I used to. I no longer think about the way I used to think about them. I see the opportunity and abundance and everything. I wish more people could see that because they would be happier and less stressful. And so I sleep very good at night. I don't have those kinds of issues. And it isn't about the money because that could disappear tomorrow. It is just a confidence in knowing now who I am and who created me and where I'm going. And the rest of that can have some fun and enjoy the people that I'm with. And those mental exercises are something I just practice every day through my own affirmations. I get up, I pray up, and then I wake up and get my feet going and move the day and ask, God to put people in front of me that I can help, that I can genuinely affect their lives positively and be a positive force for good in this world. And then after that, I let it all go because I can't control the rest of it. So why would I try?
Wow. That sounds amazing, man. Amen to that. So you have it all figured out, and all your strength came from, let's call it suffering, right? From hardship. I mean,
Adversity,
it's just part of the game.
strength.
Yeah. And it made you stronger. And now you're like, you are the world champion of mental strength.
I have my moments, no lies. I can't say I walk on clouds, but I am much stronger and in a very good place for my life. No doubt about it. But I can't say that too much into the world, though, Dano, because I'll affect myself in a negative way. I know I will. I'll come back and eat the words on this podcast. Got to be careful with that one. Stay humble. Stay humble.
No worries. Yeah, man. I wish things keep going really well for you, and you're helping so many people. I think that's amazing work you're doing. So congratulations, and my biggest respect for that. When people want to get in touch with you, where should they go?
Well, in simple places, you can go to voltagedm.com, digitalmarketing.com. At Voltage DM, there's a free training that goes through a podcast and stuff and gives you some more insights into what we're doing and the way we think and the business model we run for Voltage. It may or may not work for you, but you're free to go check that out. And there's also a workshop there with about $2,000 worth of training I give for free that goes through the 5 big breaks that all sellers need to make if they're getting started or scaling a business towards exit. All the people have the same big breaks. They got to have them to break through physical, mental, and business barriers that will get them to the success they want to go to. It's a free training they can check out. Or just hit me up on social media. I'm all across the social medias. I got a short last name, TWA. You can't miss me online. It's not hard to find me, and you can connect with me with any other social media channel that you want to check out. Do your due diligence. Always encourage you to do that. And then if you feel led to, just reach out to me. We'll have a personal conversation and see where it goes from there.
Very good, very good. So I think, so thank you so much again for joining me here and sharing this amazing life story. I found it very inspirational, and I am about to jump on your coaching program, man. I'm thrilled.
Well, I would be honored. That would be amazing.
Okay, man. Thank you so much, and we stay in touch.
All righty.